So I'm not 100% sure this is like a good movie, right? From like a story plot perspective, I don't think this will be studied in film classes. But I've thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I enjoyed the hell out of this movie, man. This is definitely a vibes movie. It is very chaotic. It is very stylish. It is very weird. This is a very much a Vegemite movie. You could take your two best friends to see this movie. One of you will love it. One of you will hate it. One of you will be like, it's okay, right? It's that sort of film. But I will take that every day over someone just doing an IP reboot and doing the exact same story, right? I think this is so much more fun. And I know the reviews for this movie are going to be like, oh, the original by James Whale, nothing can compare. It's too good, it's a 90-year-old film. No one can compare to The Bride of Frankenstein. I don't know why they try to reboot it. Blah blah blah. I can already hear those reviews in my head, right? But if you actually like the character of The Bride of Frankenstein, the original movie by James Whale isn't a good movie for that. It's a 73-minute movie, and she appears at like 70 minutes in, right? And I know that because I watched it very recently. So if you want a movie that actually explores the character of The Bride of Frankenstein, this is probably the best one you're going to get that's on film. And I'm including the original by James Whale in that, right? If you love the character of The Bride of Frankenstein, this is probably your best bet because it's all about the bride, right? And I think the wild swings that this movie takes do cover up a lot of its blemishes because there is like... Jessie Buckley's character does this weird word salad-y thing that I was like, this is going to get so fucking annoying. For the first 5 or 10 minutes, I was like, I hate every time you do this. But because everything is happening so fast and they just throw so much shit at you and everything's turned up to 11, it's almost like a Baz Luhrmann film in that sense. It's almost like my brain didn't have enough RAM to like be annoyed about that anymore. It was like, hey bro, we're gonna focus on other shit. Put that to the side. So it did work for me in that sense. I was like, I don't find that annoying anymore, which was strange, but I think that's what happened. There is a little bit of cringiness in this movie, right? I'm not saying it's not cringy. There are some cringy bits, right? The best way I can describe it is I've got a cookbook from this cool, funky hipster restaurant. And in the recipes, they swear so much, right? And I don't have a problem swearing. If you've watched this channel, you'll know I swear. I swear because that's how I talk in general. If you met my parents, you'd be like, oh, that's why he talks this way. They swear too. But in this recipe, in this cookbook I have, it's like, put the fucking corn in the fucking bowl and slap this shit on it so it's delicious as all fuck. Like, it's that sort of thing. And I stopped cooking out of it because I kept like rolling my eyes from how edgelord it is. There's a little bit of that sort of edgelord cringiness in this movie. Not a lot of it, but most of it's around like Mary Shelley's monologuing scene. And it's not cringy in terms of like it's trying to swear and be too hardcore or whatever. I know there's been a lot of shit about the motherfucking bride as the tagline, but it's more like you don't know who you're fucking with. Like, it's that sort of like hood ratty shit. But other than that, this movie is just fun. This movie's just a fun time. I went with one of my best mates, and he turned to me and he's like, dude, I'm loving this. And it's just a fun time, right? It's a fun time at the movies, and it looks beautiful on the big screen. So let's dive in, spoiler free. Welcome to Spooky Nights. Maggie Gyllenhaal's The Bride starts off by following Christian Bale as Frankenstein's monster, who has arrived in Chicago in the 1930s to the doorstep of Dr. Cornelia Euphronius, played wonderfully by Annette Bening, right? The good doctor is a student of reanimation, even having some success in revivifying like mice and cats. And Frank basically wants her to use her know-how to create him a bride because he's lonely as all hell, right? And like any good mad scientist, the good doctor is not scared of a challenge, right? She's happy to put ethics and morals on the back burner and really have a crack at this for the sake of science and, let's be honest, her own ego. So the two of them dig up a corpse from the nearby graveyard, which just so happens to be the body of a woman named Ida, played by Jessie Buckley, who was murdered by the Chicago mob. And as you can imagine, shuffling someone back onto the mortal coil has all sorts of discombobulating effects that Frank and Cornelia didn't really account for. So we basically have to strap in as we watch Ida come full force back to Chicago with the fucking rage and zest for life that burns hotter than hell's furnaces. Like I said, this movie is incredibly stylish, and it's a movie that loves movies, particularly old Hollywood. If you like stuff like Babylon or Hail Caesar or even The Artist from 2011, you know, that black and white film, right? They are all movies that revere movies and movie making. This definitely has that vibe and that love for movies in it. There's lots of impromptu dance numbers. There's lots of like zoom out wide shots because Maggie's basically saying like, look at this room. Look what we've built. Look how hard we've worked with the set design and the production design and all that. Like she's saying that in it, and you got to give it to them. It looks amazing. This movie looks really, really good. The designs of the bride herself, you know, I think everyone was expecting the white shock of hair that's so iconic. In this one, she's got like basically a dye stain, and it at the start I thought they were going to wipe it off, but I was like, no, they're keeping it for the whole movie. It's stained, and it looks pretty good. It's an iconic look. There will be lots of Halloween costumes about the bride this year, I guarantee you. And this movie is definitely a genre mashup of like a noir mob movie and a sci-fi horror. And I think it nails the vibe of both those movies pretty well. Like it fits sometimes, especially when they're in the lab, it feels like the original. And then when they're traveling through the streets of Chicago, like fighting gangsters and jumping on trains, and it turns into a bit of a noir movie. Even if not all aspects of those genres, I think, were utilized to their full capacity, I think it fits the vibe of both of them quite well. I think the acting from the crew is pretty damn good in this one, right? Even though some of them I think were a bit wasted, which I'll get to later, I think the acting all around is pretty good. Christian Bale as Frank is playing like a very kind of subtle character, right? Which is great. Usually Christian Bale takes over a scene. He doesn't in this. He sort of knows he's a background character, which is great. You don't want a movie called The Bride to be about Frankenstein's monster. It's about the fucking bride. And Jessie Buckley is fantastic in it. She's been given a really difficult character in a really difficult script. She basically has multiple personality disorder, and those personalities are from different continents in different times. And somehow she manages to make that pretty damn entertaining. So I love Harley Quinn as a character, right? And I think unfortunately, because she's been co-opted by some really toxic types of people have sort of turned off her a bit, which is a shame because I grew up collecting Batman comics. I love Batman. I've got a shit ton of Batman comics, and I especially love the really dark, fucked up, brooding comic book runs of Batman. And in a lot of those, Harley Quinn is one of the best characters because she is smart and she's competent, and she often strikes out on her own. And she's often looked over by both Batman and the Joker. They sort of see her as like, yeah, you're just a side character. But she's not. She's really intelligent despite being mentally unwell, right? Jessie Buckley's The Bride reminded me of the best representations of Harley Quinn. I know this movie actually reminds me a bit of Birds of Prey because it is very entertaining, but it is pretty fucking messy, even though I think this is better than Birds of Prey. But yeah, it is like that. It's just it's just fun to watch this character like a spinning top. You just fucking rip it and let it go. She goes crazy in this, and that's sort of the point. The point is she's got agency. She's a character that didn't have agency even in the original movie. Even in the original Bride of Frankenstein, James Whale's version, she didn't have any agency. She was basically, it was about the journey to meet the bride. It wasn't about the bride at all. It didn't give a shit about the bride, really. This one's like, nah. She is front and center. Go nuts, lady. Go fucking crazy. And she does. And it's fun to watch. So the messiness I was alluding to. This movie throws so much at you that sometimes it can be pretty hard to keep up, right? It moves along in a good clip, but it kept switching to characters, and I'd be like, oh yeah, I forgot about you, which is never a great sign if you've got multiple storylines intertwining. The noir aspect is pretty light. It is pretty underutilized. Peter Sarsgaard and Penelope Cruz, I feel like, were pretty well sidelined in this. The noir stuff does feel pretty tacked on. this movie does also feel a little bit stitched together, like ironically, like the monsters themselves. And I think that's probably, there was a little bit of trouble production and they kept pushing the dates back. And I think there was quite a few rewrites on this movie. So that does make sense. This movie was also about as subtle as a shotgun, right? It is super stylish, but it is subtle as a shotgun. Not that it needs to be subtle, right? The substance is not subtle. It's super stylish. And it is the same. It's like a fucking sledgehammer with what it's trying to get across. And it's pretty much universally loved. So, but there are some pretty... It's more the talking, the narrative plot points to get to the gendered justice is a bit clunky. You know, it does feel like they're about to wrap and then someone was like, oh, we should put some scenes together about angry women lighting a car on fire. Just to really hammer it home. And it was like, it didn't need that. Like, we get it. We get the fucking rage. The bride's fucking pissed, dude. You know, so that was a little bit clunky. And there is a little bit of... Jessie Buckley's character, specifically when she's Mary Shelley, does get a little bit like an annoying mumblecore protagonist. There's some slight manic pixie dream girl energy, like look at me, how kooky am I, dancing in the rain sort of vibes. But to be fair, most of the time where I thought it was going to go that way, I thought it was going to veer more into that, it turned and Jessie Buckley ends up delivering like some really intense monologue, or there's some intense scene that happens. So for the most part, I like that it sort of knew that and was like, no, I'm going to go this way with this now. And I enjoyed that. I thought the finale was good too. It's a bit of an homage to old crime films. It's not particularly novel though, so you can see it coming a mile away. I was like, I know exactly how this is going to end. But if you don't care for that, if you're like, I don't care if it's good, I don't care if it's not novel, I think you'll like The Bride. I would watch this if you love the character of the Bride of Frankenstein. Well, like I said in the intro, this is the best we've seen it on film. This is an exploration of that character. If you love Jessie Buckley, this is the Jessie Buckley show. She's all over this movie. It is mostly her on screen, and she's fucking great in it. If you love good for her horror, this is one of the most good for her horrors, in my opinion. Right? It's tough. Some scenes are tough to watch, but it's very much a feminist like rage movie. I would skip this if you want a scarefest, not scary. Very much like, I wouldn't even say gothic romance. This is Bonnie and Clyde meets Frankenstein. It's a bit of a gothic romance, I guess. Crime romance, natural born killers sort of thing. If James Whale's original is in your like top 10 best movies of all time, I don't think you'll like this. Almost nothing is the same. They take some bits from it, but they make their own way. So if you're really protective and you love that original movie, you probably won't love this one. So if you like this one, I would check out a little seen 2019 movie called Villains. It stars horror homies Bill Skarsgård and Micah Monroe as two amateur criminals who break into this like suburban home, only to realize that the homeowners are hiding something pretty messed up and sinister. This is a criminally underseen movie. I really love this movie, and it's about two kind of shady people being in love, madly in love, and I think that fits the tone of The Bride very well. Also, I just want to get word out about this movie because I think it's awesome, and it's got Bill Skarsgård and Micah Monroe, and almost no one has heard of this movie, and it's really good. I'm also going to slot You're Next by Adam Wingard in here. It's about a woman named Erin who goes on basically a weekend away at her rich boyfriend's parents' estate. During family dinner, though, mass murderers basically crash the party and start killing people and causing mayhem. Little do they know that Erin is actually an absolute badass, and she starts messing their plans up. And it seems like a weird pick for The Bride, right? To go along with The Bride. But I'm picking it because it's about a character who is sort of brought along as an ancillary character and is severely overlooked and underestimated, and basically just absolutely steals the show and causes absolute mayhem. And that I feel fits The Bride very, very well. All right, that's it. Let me know what you thought of this one. It's a fun one. I thought it was a fun one. It's going to be super polarizing, right? There are going to be people that hate this. There's going to be people that love this. You know, I can see lots of people putting this as their favorite film of all time. I could see that. It is that stylish. It's that unique. So I'm interested to see your thoughts on that. Let me know. Also, let me know if you love James Whale's original, right? Like, I feel like people really love that movie. Often it's cited as one of the greatest horror movies of all time. But as someone who's watched it a couple of times recently, I was like, yeah, I get it, the historical factor, but maybe I've come to it too late. But I'll be interested to let people know. I'd be interested in what people think of the original. Hopefully I'll see you next week for another review. Peace.